housekeeping things. Again, if you haven't put your phone back there and started it yet, we'll get everyone to silence their phones as well if you haven't done so. We'll open with a opening statement from Luc, and then we'll get to questions after. Please indicate you have a question. We'll get you a mic. Both John and Justin have mics, so we'll pass you a mic. We'll use that as a order, and then I'll call on you for your questions. So we'll turn it over to Luc for opening statement.
Thank you, Sean. Should I get this a little closer? Okay. Just wanted to start real quick. So Blakey and I, we met on over the weekend, and we took a couple days to go over the season and go over everything what happened in the playoffs and so forth, and going over you go into every detail as much as possible. I think at one point we both realized and agreed that it was time to probably bring a new voice just to get us to that next level, realizing when you study other franchises and so forth. So it's important for us to look at it this way. The one thing I would say is, make no mistake, when we talk about this franchise and we're talking about getting to the next level, the mission of this franchise is to bring back the Stanley Cup in Los Angeles. We started right away Monday looking for a replacement. We're going to make sure that this replacement is here to help us do that, and that's the goal again. Rob Blake has more integrity than anyone I've ever known. I don't think people realize the countless hours that go behind the scene, the sleepless night. So on behalf of all of us at the organization, on the Kings and our ownership group, I want to thank Rob Blake for what he's done. He's left us with a damn good team, and he left this franchise in great shape. And we're very fortunate to have had a human being doing this for us. Now, as we move forward, a mistake will happen. That's life. It's what we do from it and what we learn, and hopefully this will help us get us to the next level, which is greatness and the Stanley Cup. All right, Sean, I'll take your question.
Okay, we'll start with John here, and then we'll go to Russell.
Luc, can you give us any sort of timeline of how long you think this process is going to take? And then also, what does that mean for the status of Nelson Emerson, Glenn Murray, and, of course, Jim Hiller?
Well, we got everybody under contract, so everybody's staying. We don't have a timeline, but obviously we understand the urgency. We know what's coming up. There's free agency coming up. The draft's coming up. So, like I said, we started working on it Monday. You're putting a list together. You suddenly have a lot of friends. You get a lot of texts when that happens, and so we understand that there's an urgency, but at the same time, it's very important for this franchise, and hopefully it'll be as soon as possible. But we want to make sure.
Luc, you said conversations took place over the weekend. Was this decision maybe more led by Rob Blake, who's maybe reports that said that maybe this wasn't something he was maybe looking forward to doing in the near future?
Well, Blakey and I have been talking about it for probably a year. He always said he wanted to wait to sign and see. I'm not getting into detail of our conversation, but it's something that we talked about, and he felt a certain way. I did, and then we both agreed that this was better for the franchise.
Dennis?
Luc, would you consider a first-time NHL GM? Rob was a first-time NHL GM. Would you go back that road, or does somebody have to have experience as a GM that you want to hire?
I'm not going to close any doors on anything, but we got to get the best person to help us get to the next level, and that's what's more important for me right now. It's not fair to say, we're going to go one way or the other. We just got to get the right person and the best person for this organization at this time.
And in 2017, you wrote to the fans who were going to contend for a Stanley Cup every year. It's 8 years later, haven't won a round. So what's your message to the fans today?
I've always said that on July 1st, if you look at your team and you say, what could we add that can help us win the Stanley Cup? You're there. And we've been thinking that way for the last couple of years. We haven't won the Cup. It's not about beating one team or winning one round. This is about winning a Stanley Cup. And right now we're at a place where, we met with half of our team already, and we're going to look this summer, what can we add to win the Stanley Cup next year? And we're there. We were there last year. Rob made tremendous moves in the summer, but it's not good enough, so we got to get better.
Kevin, Luke, thanks for doing this. A couple of questions, if I may. What confidence do you have in Jim Hiller? Pretty good season for a first full season as an NHL head coach. And then the second question is, I know it was incredibly painful for you to have to get rid of Rob, a former teammate, but you are now, you're the guy in charge, and you've been here through this 8 years without a playoff series victory. Do you do some self-examination too and look at what you can do better to help this out?
I've been here since 1986. I've been self-searching myself ever since because I care every single day and I want to get better, and I want our organization to get better. I love this team, and that's what I do every single day. So, and regarding the guy, I think Jim did a tremendous job. I do know that the general manager that's coming in is going to have to make his own decisions and so forth, but we had a really good year. It's the best year, equal to, I think, 74, 75 in Kings history. But it's sports, and you want to win the last game of the season, and that's our goal.
Austin?
Luke, there's been some reports over the last few years that during Rob's tenure, you took on a bigger role in on-ice decisions, things like trades, roster construction, free agent signings. I was just wondering, if, especially compared to when Dean was GM, just wondering if you could comment on those reports and whether or not your role changed.
My roles never change. We've always worked as a team. Your general manager always make the final decision. But like I said, this franchise is in really good shape. We have a lot of good people, really smart people, and most decisions have always been as a group, but the general manager makes the final decision.
Go to Russell and then Andrew.
Just curious, what kind of traits or maybe, strategies are you looking for in a new GM in terms of roster building?
Someone will help us win the cup. No, there's different ways to look at it. It's interesting to hear different vision and how everything is seen, but you definitely want to have someone that's willing to do, just whatever it takes. I think the one thing that when you look at our team, man, we worked hard this year. There's not one night that you couldn't say we worked hard, but we still need that killer instinct, just that little thing, so we're going to be looking for that.
Luke, at the trade deadline, before you guys had the tear at the end of the year, Rob was saying that the minimum standard was winning one round, things of that nature. Was there a mandate this year like there was to make the playoffs last year, or was it maybe a little bit looser standard than that?
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry. I
okay.
phrased that in a confusing way. Last season, I know that there was a mandate. That was the word that Jim Hiller used, that Rob used to make the playoffs. This year, when he was asked what's the minimum standard for the season, he said winning one round. Was it the same sort of mandate, like you guys had to win a round or there would be a change, or was it maybe a little bit more flexible than that?
I'm not a big believer on trying to set a standard to win one round. Why even, so I think we came in and meeting with our players today, they really felt they could go all the way. We felt we could go all the way, and that was our goal. And if you look at the way we played from the trade deadline on, and that was a feeling in that room. The guys are really disappointed. I don't think anybody talked about winning one round,
Just to follow up, I also want to ask you about Marc Bergevin's role since he arrived here. I know he's a special advisor to the GM, but could you give us any more input into his influence in personnel decisions? And are you looking at internal candidates, perhaps him or Nelson Emerson, to promote into this position?
Well, we'll be talking. I think it's we have to talk to everyone. You have to listen. Mark had the relationship was between him and Blakey, where they worked together. I know in the room he's really good hockey mind, and they work closely together. He traveled a lot. When it came time to trade, We have a full scouting system that these guys are really talented, and he added to what they were doing as a group, and he's been really good for our team.
Sorry, you can't, but I want to make sure I understand this clearly. At the beginning, you said, talking about a lot of the guys that are here, Glenn and Jim Hiller,
Yeah.
that they're under contract, and I took that to mean that they'll be back. But then you said the general manager will have the final say. Is there a scenario in which maybe Jim Hiller doesn't come back?
I think Jimmy answered that question yesterday. He goes, you never know, it's sports. I don't see that happening, but your general manager will still, you want to give him the freedom. You don't want to lock up a new person that's coming in. But the record of what Jimmy's done this year is really, really good. That'd be really hard for any GM to say, well, this guy shouldn't come back, He's been really good. I think Jimmy's a great coach, and I fully think this guy's coming back for sure.
And learned a lot in the playoffs, I think.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier, we all make mistakes, it's every one of us. And it's what you learn from it, whether it's a play on the ice, a call or a bad trade or something. It's what do you do with it when it happened? Are you willing to get better, and can you get better out of it?
Luke, I understand you guys obviously had a very successful season, franchise record in points and whatnot, but what do you say to those who kind of look at the way that the Kings play and think of it more as like a kind of an antiquated system? And maybe is that something maybe you're looking for, or those that would want something as more of a progressive style, maybe more offensive driven?
I don't know. We had three of the best lines in hockey. We scored goals. We had a 40% power play. We said, we needed to tweak our power play. Got to give credits to our guys. They figured it out, Some teams have a 60-goal scores. We don't, but we have a lot of guys that can score goals. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we have more guys with 40 points than anyone in the league. We play hard. We forecheck. We don't sit back. The whole thing about sitting back in the third period, no coach has ever said to a team, okay, let's sit back. We're going to win this one. It's never been in the history of the game. It's human nature. You go back and watch the tape in Game 6 where Edmonton was sitting. I was shocked when I saw Connor McDavid dump it in and changing. I'm like, what? But it's just the way it is. And we've seen it throughout the playoffs. But it's definitely something we have to learn from it. It can't happen again, but we want to push. It's in Game 2, we were at home and they started pushing, and we got 2 or 3 2-on-1s. We scored. I think it was Game 3. The puck was at blue line 2 or 3 times. It didn't come out. If we would have gotten 1 or 2 2-on-1s and then we scored probably over, it wasn't. That happens, but we got to learn from that. But I don't think our style of play is something that sitting back so far. This year with Jimmy Cummins starting last year, we've really been rolling our guys, and there's been a lot of freedom on the ice.
Austin and then Dennis.
Luke, this time last year, you and Rob seemed to have a clear vision of what you thought this team needed to get to the next level. I think Rob used the phrase getting uncomfortable.
Yep.
There seemed to be a clear plan to get bigger, to get meaner, maybe more built for the playoffs. Do you guys have a similar clear vision for where you think the improvements need to be, or is that something that the new GM will decide?
A new GM will come in, but we're in good shape. I really mean it. We're I think the moves that Rob did and the group did last summer really changed our team. Got more of an edge and so forth. But that being said, it's not enough. So we're going to have to figure out exactly what needs to be tweaked to get this team to the next level.
And speaking of changes, there has been quite a few changes, but the core of this team has remained the same for a lot of these 4 years, especially 3 of the last 4 years. Has there been any thought that maybe there needs to be changes in that core, that maybe that core isn't good enough to get you to the next level and you need to change things there?
Well, not yet. I think we need to get a new GM, hear a new voice to see what they say.
Dennis?
There's a perception out there, Luke, that because of the lack of success and because it's just you and it's not Phil Banshoots and Dan Beckerman here, that AG just cares about the bottom line. They don't care about winning. What would you say to those fans?
Well, if they cared about the bottom line, you should see our books. Look, we have one of the best owners in sports. I mean, he cares about our team. He's way more present than you would know. Loves his team. Dan Beckerman is an amazing CEO. Talk to him daily about this franchise, but they understand the structure of a great organization. Not just a great team, a great organization where everyone has a role and you shouldn't step the line, and that's how we're going to have success over long term. It's always been that way, and you know, the fact that they're not here today has nothing to do. It's more like they understand exactly what it is. There's not one decision that doesn't go as a group, as a team, and we're very fortunate to have people that are great people, but they really care about this organization.
Greg and then Eric.
You said a few times, Luke, you really like the construction of this roster. You said that Jim Hiller's done a really great job.
Yeah.
You know, won a lot of games. You say you like the style of play carried over from Todd. You know, the general style of play with Todd and with Jim. Is it fair to say that this change, this wouldn't be happening if the results had been there? Or is there something else in the structure of the team that you think can be addressed by a new GM that can be improved?
When you're talking about the roster, or you're talking about the management?
Like you've complimented like every aspect of the team.
Yeah.
And so is it fair to say this change would not be happening if you guys hadn't run into an Edmonton Oilers team 4 years in a row and lost?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. I mean, we've had talks over the weekend with Blakey. They'll remain private, but I'm not sure. Yeah. As far as the roster is concerned, you know, everyone has a different opinion, you know, and so forth. And that's in hockey people too. So that'll be interesting to see what the new kind of voice is. And we're going to have to listen and learn.
Eric?
Hey, Luke, off that roster question there, you know, with respect to the players that are on this roster right now, and we know that there's especially two of them, they're going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame eventually. But does this roster right now need a superstar type player in their prime right now to kind of drive the bus here?
Well, everyone would love to have a superstar player in their prime. You know, we have one. We have Adrian Kempe. You know, but you know, you're always trying to improve your roster if you can. You know, if you have an opportunity to do it, you do it, and that's why we're in this business. That being said, you know, beside Montreal, we were the youngest team in the playoffs, so our young guys are coming. You know, we've all seen Q, the way he's playing. Clarkey started, you know, really thrive under pressure and so forth. So these guys are going to be, you know, around for a while, and you know, they're the ones that are going to take us to the next level. But they've been fortunate to have guys like Kopi and Drew, and before that was Brownie and Jonathan Quick to guide them to really understand what it takes to take it that next level.
Luke, under the past regime, you guys were willing to spend all the way up to the salary cap. The cap's going up this summer. Is the team committed to, again, spending all the way up to the upper limit of the salary cap?
We're committing to win. Yeah, we're coming. So, you know, if you want to win in this league, usually you spend to the cap, but it's not about spending to the cap. It's about being wise, doing the right decision, and so forth. We're not just going to throw money just to throw money. You got to do it right. But this team is committed, yeah.
Luke, I was wondering if you could respond to reports of the Islanders' interest in Bergevin. Have they reached out to you for an interview for him? And what do you say to those who, perhaps, if you do go with an internal candidate, see you as the president still, see an internal candidate come in and think maybe that change isn't drastic enough?
They haven't reached out to me. I haven't heard from the Islanders. So, and like I said, though, we're just going to do the best search we can and find the best candidate to help this franchise to the next level. It doesn't matter like how old the person is, where they're from, internally, externally. We just got to find the right person.
Daryl?
Hey, Luke, at this time, how does this impact, with a change at this time, how does this impact the decisions on like free agents like Gavrikov and things like that? Does this halt the discussions at all?
No, because, you know, we're I said it before, like he left us in really good shape. Like, so we only have a few guys we need to talk to, 3 right now, And so, it's going to take we need a little time here. But we told, we haven't talked to Tanner, as you know, but we told the other two today because we talked to them. I was with Nelson Emerson, and we told them that we wanted to talk to them as soon as possible.
You mentioned things you like about the roster, and especially those young players, and I think most people view Quentin and Brandt as those pillars, but even players like Alex Ferrier or Alex Turcotte took big strides. How much of a focus and how important is it for you, for the next GM, to be someone that can maximize those assets and really maybe start that process of making them the face of the franchise?
You become the face of a franchise by what you do on the ice, we can't manufacture in sports like a guy where they're going to be and so forth. So they're coming. I mean, Q is playing 22 minutes a game. Clarkey started playing more minutes, and Turk unfortunately got hurt near the end of the year, and that probably set him back a little bit. But we could see he was playing with Kopi and playing really well, and Laffy's a really, really good player. So those guys are coming, and as they keep playing like that, they become, the face of the franchise. That's how you do it.
You mentioned to John that you'd be willing to spend to the cap to win. The last time you took a big swing, it didn't work out with Dubois. It's a lot of money. You had to trade him, and you got Darcy back. Because that didn't work out, are you hesitant to pay maybe a free agent $10 or $12 million a year on a long-term deal because that one didn't work for you?
Well, you learn from your mistake, and that's life, Dennis, and then you move on and get better for it. So that's what we're going to have to do. I think we gotta look at it and if there's an opportunity, our guys do great work. Pierre-Luc Dubois, like the way he played this year, is exactly the player we tried to get. It didn't work out with us. Sometimes it happened, and our guys, Blakey made, fixed the problem. I mean, he's had a really good year this year. We needed a goalie. Our goalie was really good this year. That happens in our business sometimes, and for some reason it didn't fit with us, and it fit on the other side. Darcy didn't fit there, and he fit in our system. So it's one of those trades that was better for both teams, but that won't stop us from trying to get as good as we can be.
Russell?
Luke, you may have mentioned this already, but is there anyone that will be helping you with this search for a GM, and what's the next few days going to be looking like for you guys?
I'm a team guy, so I always feel like I understand I'm going to have to make the decision, but I think we're going to do this as a team and do the best way within our communication as a group to find out who we feel is the best for us.
Any other questions? Sorry?
I have one.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, sure. We'll get your mic.
I like it.
Just real quick, because we've seen you together. This is sort of like letting a family member go. Can you talk about the emotions of mutual decision and involvement? You came to it together. Just the emotions you go through when something like that happens.
Oh, it's never easy because, there's a friendship part. We were teammates. And when someone goes, it's like, it's a big hole. He's going to leave a big hole. He's one of the greatest leaders in our game, and every one of our players have had the opportunity to talk with him, and they all did. This guy treated every person so well, so we're going to miss him, and it's a hard thing, yeah. Been a hard weekend, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Luke, last year you said the team was right there after the first round loss, and from the sound of things, you think that they took a step forward. Where do you think the team is now, and what does right there mean exactly? I mean, I think most people would interpret that to mean like on the cusp or on the verge of contending for winning a Stanley Cup. I just want to get clarity on what you mean by right there, and if the team was right there last year and it took a step forward.
Did I say that today? Did I say right there today?
You said anytime you're looking on July 1st.
I just want to make sure because I know there was like a meme out there or whatever
and then
you call it.
said last year we were right there. Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I just want to get clarity because they're kind of broad terms. I just want to know exactly what you mean and where you think the team is now.
I'll tell you what it is. It's like I remember even in when Dean Lombardi was here, I always said, I'll repeat what I said earlier. if you know you have a team that around July 1st of the draft, you're trying to make one or two moves that can, you believe will help you win the cup, that's when you're there as an organization. As far as like getting to the next step, the next level. And that's what I mean by that. Like, you know, we're at a place where you look at our team like, that's a good team. It's hard to make the playoffs in the NHL. There's only 16 teams out of 32. But once you're there, you're like, okay, what do we need to do just to get to the next level? As an organization right now, like, you know, we're sitting and you're not happy where you're at in May, early May, because you want to keep playing. But you're like, okay, what can we tweak here and there that could give us to let us play all the way till June? There's probably 10 teams like that, though. You know, you got like Colorado was right there. They made great move. They're already out, and that's the way it goes. St. Louis didn't make too many moves, but they played well. They're already out. Like that's what I mean by that. You're trying to say, okay, we have a really good team. Like, you know. If you're saying we got to get 3 or 4 guys and one superstar here, you're not there. If you're saying, well, can we do 2 or 3 players or 1 player or something that'll take us to that level where, you know, you guys start closing some games.
Thank you. Eric?
Luc, I just want to be completely clear on my end. Rob, so he's not going to be with the organization going forward. It's not. He's not going to be in, say, another role or.
Yeah, no.
Gotcha.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in 2-3 years from now, but no.
Okay. And I respect that. Like you said, you want to keep some things in terms of your conversation with him between you. Just curious, did Rob did he want to continue on as GM, or did he reach a point in his mind where this was an end point for him?
Well, we've been talking since December. It's been a lot of talk, and you know, so he had some thought on himself, and like I said, I think I'm going to keep that private, you know, because you know it's hard when you go, you know, between 2 ex-teammates and so forth. But we've been talking for a while.
Austin?
We talked to Andre yesterday about his future with this organization. He's got 1 year left on his contract. When he signed that 2-year contract, he alluded to maybe thinking about retirement. He seemed non-committal about his future after, you know, just he will be on the team next season. Have you guys had any conversations with him about his future, potential retirement, and maybe the post-Kopitar world for this organization?
No. No.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time, Luc.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.